October 19th, 2017. You are listening to Inception Radio Network, voice of the fringe majority. This is Carol Carl with UFO Headline News. Let's see what's up for the sky-watching part of our day at the end of the day. The headline is Uranus at opposition tonight. Bruce McClure writes this for earthsky.org. That planet Uranus, the seventh planet outward from the sun, is at opposition. In other words, our planet Earth, in its smaller, faster orbit, swings in between the sun and Uranus today, placing Uranus opposite the sun in our sky. And because Uranus is opposite the sun, it rises in the east at sunset, climbs highest up for the night at midnight, midway between sunset and sunrise, and sets in the west at sunrise. Not only does Uranus stay out all night long, but this world is now coming closest to Earth for the entire year, shining at its brightest best in our sky. But even at its brightest, Uranus is still quite faint. In fact, it's barely perceptible as a dim speck of light to the unaided eye. At a magnitude of 5.68, Uranus shines no more brilliantly than the sky's faintest stars, in fact. But given a dark sky free of light pollution, you might see Uranus with the eye alone. But you've got to know exactly where to look for this distant world in front of the rather faint constellation Pisces. And yes, there'll be a constellation chart thanks to earthsky.org. You can find it later by simply heading on over to ufoheadlinenews.com. It's all neat and tidy. The earthsky.org people have labeled the star Omicron Piscium in the constellation Pisces just for you. This star, which is visible to the eye alone on a dark night, is close to the ecliptic in the sky chart at the far eastern left portion of that constellation Pisces. Once you find this star, try hopping that star hop dance from there to Uranus. As good fortune would have it, this year the new moon, a moon most nearly between the Earth and Sun for this month, falls October 19th at nearly the same hour that Uranus reaches opposition. The time for that, 1912 UTC, the moon will turn new. And that means there'll be no pesky moonlight to wash out the 2017 Uranus opposition. Take advantage of the moon-free night tonight, because next year's opposition of Uranus will fall on the same date as the full moon, and good luck with that. That'll be October 24th, 2018. Mark your calendar. Even at its closest point to Earth, Uranus does not come particularly close to Earth. It'll be just shy of 19 astronomical units away from Earth, and 20 astronomical units from the Sun. Oh, the astronomical unit, by the way, it says here 1 astronomical unit equals the Sun-Earth distance. If you've got that pair of trusty binoculars, Uranus is quite easy to view, although it will only look like a rather faint star. And again, you've got to know precisely where to look to find the seventh planet from the Sun. Your best bet is to find a good sky chart, we told you where to get that, and then do that star hop from the 4th magnitude star Omicron Piscium, fairly easy to see with your eye alone on a dark night. Follow that star to the planet Uranus. And here's the bottom line. On October 19th, 2017, the planet Uranus reaches opposition and the moon turns new. Good news for providing a dark sky for viewing Uranus in front of the constellation Pisces. Good luck. Headline: Gravitational waves, neutron stars, Kilanovas? What the new physics announcement means. This is from the WashingtonPost.com with a byline for Ben Guarino and Sarah Kaplan. Let's rewind a bit. On Monday, scientists announced the first observation of a cosmic event using gravitational wave detectors and conventional telescopes. What they witnessed was a kilanova. They spell that Kilonova, a violent, brilliant explosion that occurs when 2 neutron stars collide. The discovery was a massive undertaking. Thousands of researchers from diverse fields in physics and astronomy played crucial roles, and there's a lot of science to understand. So here are some answers to basic questions about Monday's news. It begins, remind me, what are gravitational waves again? Gravitational waves are ripples in space-time caused by cosmic events. They travel at the same speed as light. Their existence was first predicted by Albert Einstein as a byproduct of his theory of general relativity. You see, Einstein had figured out that gravity was a consequence of the way mass warps space-time. Heavy objects sit in the fabric of the universe like bowling balls on a trampoline, curving the space around them. That's why the moon orbits planets, and planets orbit the sun, not because they're attached by some cosmic leash, but because space-time is curling around this larger object, and they're caught in the whirlpool. Sticking with that trampoline metaphor, gravitational waves are what might happen if you smash two bowling balls together and cause them to explode. That cataclysm would vibrate the fabric of the trampoline, sending ripples out toward the edge. When two black holes collide, or when neutron stars merge, the gravitational waves from that event ripple through the universe. So, what's a neutron star? Neutron stars are formed when an aging mid-sized star, about 4 to 8 times bigger than our sun, goes supernova. That is, as the star's outer layers are blown off, the remnants collapse in on themselves, forming a small compacted core so dense that a single teaspoon of matter would weigh 1 billion tons. The neutron stars that collided to create the Kilanova, observed by astronomers, were small enough to fit inside the Beltway, but each contained as much matter as the sun. Here's a quote from Andy Howell. He's an astronomer at the California-based Las Cumbres Observatory and professor at University of California, Santa Barbara. Quote, "It's the most tightly bound something can be and exist in our universe," end quotes. The intense gravity of a neutron star crushes its atoms, compacting protons and electrons together until they combine to make neutrons, subatomic particles with no charge at all. So, what happens during a kilanova? Said Michael Siegel, quote, "Nova is an ancient word. It basically means new star," end quotes. Michael Siegel should know. He's a Penn State University astronomer who leads the ultraviolet instrumentation team for NASA's SWIFT satellite. Stargazers of long ago observed new points of light in the night sky and assumed they'd witnessed the birth of infant stars. But nova? That's a misnomer. These novas weren't completely new objects. Rather, they were existing suns that flared up and spat out bright light before dying down. Scientists first coined that term kilanova about a decade ago when they calculated that there should be events roughly 1,000 times brighter than that garden-variety cosmic nova. They're also sometimes called macronova, a term in Howell's estimation that sounds, quote, "stupid," end quotes. He says, quote, "We're so early we don't have the terminology sorted out," end quotes. This kilanova lived up to its 1,000 times stronger namesake. Quote, "That was very satisfying," said Columbia University theoretical astrophysicist Brian D. Metzger, whose work involves predicting the electromagnetic counterparts to gravitational waves. Neutron star collisions shoot jets of radioactive matter into space. Their expelled guts beam out in a line. Metzger said it was almost like smashing your palm on a full tube of toothpaste, a tube with holes at both ends. He said, quote, "A lot of matter will come flying out," end quotes. These are materials that the universe does not otherwise generate in bulk. The neutron star merger churned out the equivalent of 10,000 Earth masses in gold and tens of thousand masses in uranium. The focus is on the cataclysm that occurred in galaxy NGC 4993. It suggests neutron star mergers are the dominant process by which the universe creates gold, platinum, and other elements, said Metzger. Quote, "That's been a mystery for something like 60 years," end quotes. These stars were probably twin stars in a binary system. One after the other, they became dead husks. They circled each other, shaking off gravitational waves, which in turn pulled them closer together. Imagine 2 large marbles rolling toward the bottom of a funnel until they meet with a catastrophic thwack. There's lots more to this article, gentle listeners. It gets rather involved, rather technical. You can find a link to it later at ufoheadlinenews.com. But we'll close with this. The question, why were so many scientists involved? Something like 3,500 names are on the author list of the biggest paper to come out about this observation. According to scientist Dave Shoemaker out of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a spokesman for the LIGO scientific collaboration, he said merging these two communities, the physicists used to large collaborations with the astronomers, some of whom weren't, wasn't always easy. In fact, he said if he had done anything differently 2 months ago, when the researchers realized they had a neutron star collision on their hands, quote, it would have been to read about the sociology of astronomy before making any decision to put papers together. That would have saved a lot of Sturm und Drang, end quotes. Trending now, one might say, it seems to be Drone Week. Here's a headline. CNN gets first-of-a-kind waiver to fly drones over crowds. This gets a byline for Daryl Ethington, who writes for TechCrunch. CNN has won an interesting waiver regarding its commercial drone operating license with the FAA. They got an exemption that allows it to fly its Vantage Robotics Snap drone over open-air crowds of people at altitudes of up to 150 feet. This is a new precedent of this kind of waiver. Previous exemptions allowed flights of drones over people in closed set operations, such as filmmaking purposes, and only when tethered, with a maximum height of 21 feet. The new waiver granted to CNN, as secured through its legal counsel Hogan Lovells, allows for flight of this Vantage UAV, which is quite small and light, above crowds regardless of population density. This was a big win for the firm and the company because it represents a change in perspective on the issue for the FAA, which previously viewed all requests for exemptions from a, quote, worst-case scenario, end quotes, point of view. Now, however, the FAA has accepted CNN's, quote, reasonableness approach, end quotes. That takes into account not just the potential results of a crashed drone, but also the safe operating history of the company doing the flying, their built-in safety procedures, and the features included on the drone model itself that are designed to mitigate the results of any negative issues. This could definitely be a boon to news gathering, since a drone's eye view of protests, demonstrations, and other large groups would indeed aid in telling the story. And drone use means not having to locate and fly a helicopter whenever that's desired. Yup, sounds a lot more expedient. No pilots to notify, no fueling, etc. We'll wait and see how this works out. But we don't have to wait for UFO sightings, and here they come. From UFOstalker.com, a UFO sighting in an undisclosed city in Florida. MUFON gave this sighting a case number 87347. The date of this sighting is October 13th, 2017. It was reported October 15th. By summary, here's what we find from our witness. Donut-shaped, matte green, glowing lights seemed like engines. Perfect sighting of the hull. Left awestruck. The viewing distance here is rather close, 101 to 500 feet. The altitude was treetop level, 500 feet or less. The sighting duration was 15 seconds, but in spite of that short burst of sighting, the object features are described as patterned surface and louvers. The flight path is described as hovering and then path and then ultimately other. And this object is said to have been shaped like a diamond. Wherever this was in Florida, this undisclosed location, the maximum temperature at the time of this event was 84 degrees Fahrenheit, 29 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperature, 73 degrees Fahrenheit, 23 degrees Celsius. The maximum visibility was 10 miles, 16 kilometers, pretty standard. The same for the mean visibility. The minimum isn't even listed because the conditions indicate it was raining. Here's the account, first-person words of our witness. First, let me say, wow. never been in such awe in my life at this engineering marvel. I went outside at 3:48 a.m. I saw as clear as day a diamond-shaped object with a blunted rear. It was a large cylindrically shaped matte green thing. The lights were similar to donut-shaped circles that were phosphorescent but did not emit light pollution outside of the light itself or within the center of that light. It was not far, I would estimate 500 feet up, or whatever the ceiling height of the cloud cover was. This object was about 200 feet away. It was the size of about 6 houses, maybe as large as 12 in mass. I was awestruck at the magnificence and engineering that went into this thing. I could see the louver-like body on the craft, and the design was similar to plates set like red clay roof tiles, as if the heat was dispersed by the space behind each plate. There may be sound in the video I took, however my air conditioning unit could have caused that. I would pass any lie detector test on this. I am 100% certain of what I saw. I'm going to do my best to have some image rendered. I grew up in Bermuda. I was not open-minded to this. I'm now very interested, and I'm setting up cameras to record any anomalies. Although it doesn't accompany this event, I do have video. However, it may need some editing to be able to get a clear view of what I saw. I've tried to analyze the video. I found some peculiar issues. I was completely awestruck, and after about 10 seconds, I was able to look away to open the camera on my phone. The light from the screen disrupted my focus. I took a video, but that video is all black. I took another one to see why. The other video shows the clouds clearly. I don't know what happened, but for a good 10 seconds I was frozen in awe at the engineering that went into this object. When I finally allowed myself to look away and looked at my phone, the light on the phone messed with my focus. Our witness closes by saying, "I need a video expert." Oh, gentle listeners, this is the part where we remind you that at the end of every UFOstalker.com entry, there's a place that asks, "Did you see it? Have a comment or question? Discuss it below." If you want to step forward with your video expertise and help this witness out, well, that would bestow a favor upon us all, perhaps. How about a road trip? Florida to Texas? We can do that. The city of Lufkin, specifically. It's MUFON case number 87332. The date of this sighting is October 12th, 2017. It was reported October 14th, 2017. Here's the summary. Very different than normal, colored, big, bright lights that projected beams. It's the image in the left photo that scares me. And there are photos submitted with this account. Yep, spooky stuff. If you feel like getting spookified later, you can head on over to UFOheadlinenews.com and see these shots for yourselves. The sighting specifics list an unknown viewing distance, an unknown altitude. The sighting duration was 13 seconds long, and the features of the object are described as dome, patterned surface, other, and unknown. The object's flight path apparently was stationary, and according to the witness, the object's shape just doesn't apply. Meteorologically speaking, the maximum temperature in Lufkin, Texas was 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperature 59 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees Celsius. Our trio of visibility factors, maximum, mean, and minimum, were the standard, 10 miles, 16 kilometers, and there was nothing abnormal weather-wise. Our witness states, "I was wide awake for some strange reason that night, and something just said, 'Go outside.' As soon as I went outside, it felt like the energy from some big glowing light grabbed my attention instantly. At first I thought this was the moon, until I realized the moon was on the other side of the sky. At first this big light just glowed, very, very bright. And then beams of light glowed out of each side of the bigger lights. There was something very shiny, way bigger than a star, between these two bright lights. It sat still. Not glowing, not twinkling, nothing, just a kind of oblong light. It's the image in the left photograph I submitted. This is the part that really terrified me. I could not see that figure with my eyes. I actually accidentally caught it as I was recording the lights. It was very scary. I used different lighting to bring it out, and it definitely looks like a UFO. When the lights left, it looked like someone just turned off a light switch. They didn't fly away, drop away, they just went off. Off, like a switch. We can't help but wonder if that's a cloaking device, so often reported. Our sighting report trajectory now takes us to Northern California, the city of Hayward, in the Bay Area. This is the setting for MUFON sighting number 87346. This sighting took place October 14th, 2017, and got a next-day report. Here's the summary. Very bright light traveling slowly from north-northeast to south-southeast. Under the categories that include sighting specifics, we find a viewing distance listed as unknown by our witness, the altitude likewise unknown. The sighting duration was 6 minutes. The object features, well, they're unknown as well. The flight path, however, was a path that included directional change, and the object shape, you guessed it, unknown. Our reporting witness writes this in parts 1 and part 2. Part 1. My wife Kim and I were sitting on our rear deck. The object appeared over the trees from north-northeast. It appeared to be about the size of an aspirin tablet held at arm's length. It was very bright, much brighter than the background stars, and this object did not display any normal aircraft marker lights of any kind, which is what really caught our attention. Also, there was no sound whatsoever. The speed of this object seemed slow. We would guess 100 miles per hour, slower than light aircraft in and out of Hayward Airport. Both Kim and I got our binoculars and continued to observe. The object appeared to be on a course of 100 degrees. Shortly after the object passed overhead, it appeared to make a mild turn to a new heading of approximately 80 degrees. The object continued on this heading for another 1 or 2 minutes, and then it appeared to turn off its light. The bright searchlight was extinguished, consequently, and a smaller reddish dot was visible. At this time, we guessed the object's distance at 3 to 5 miles. The object continued until out of sight. Part 2. At 8:05, an object appeared to the west of us, traveling south to north, at a distance of approximately 5 to 10 miles. Estimated speed, approximately 250 to 350 miles per hour. And this object appeared to have the same characteristics as the previous object, without the searchlight aspect. So we wondered if this was the same object. Question. Is there any agency doing a scanning program for mapping, for a geological study, for earthquake study? The reason we ask is we have viewed objects in the past displaying similar surveying characteristics. So, just a thought. We find that a very interesting thought. However, it does occur to us that any sort of government surveying object in the sky, airplane, helicopter, etc., would still be bound to have those normal aircraft lights. So, heading north now, we find ourselves over Hamel, Illinois. That's spelled Hamel. That's where MUFON case number 87382 happened. October 15th, 2017 is the sighting date. The report date was the next day, October 16th. Summary. Multiple times. Bright orange, larger than star-sized objects, hovering 30 minutes and then leaving view. Speaking of view, you can view the video of this object yourselves, gentle listeners, later at ufoheadlinenews.com. Viewing distance unknown. Altitude unknown. The sighting duration was 3 hours. The object features, however, are still vexingly described as unknown. The flight path was hovering, and then path that at some point included directional change. The witnesses report this object was shaped like a boomerang. A quick scan of the weather at the time of this event in Hamel, Illinois, maximum temperature 74 degrees Fahrenheit, 23 degrees Celsius, dropping down to a minimum of 41 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 degrees Celsius. Maximum visibility 10 miles, 16 kilometers. Minimum visibility 9 miles, 15 kilometers. Minimum dropping down to 5 miles, 8 kilometers, because it was raining. And this will show you the dedication of our witnesses. In spite of the rain, it was a 3-hour event for them. Here's how it went. On the night of October 15th, 2017, at roughly 8:35 p.m. Central Standard Time, my girlfriend and I were driving down Fruit Road. We were between Edwardsville and Hamel, Illinois. We were in Madison County. 30 minutes outside of St. Louis, we noticed one larger than star-sized light in the sky. This was glowing orange. We watched this. It remained motionless in the night sky for roughly 15 minutes. We pulled over on a frontage road that parallels Interstate 55. This thing was roughly north-northeast of our position when we stopped the car. Once we parked, a second object appeared in the sky. It looked similar, but it might or might not have been associated with this phenomenon. We began at that point to photograph and film this anomalous floating object in the sky, and shortly after we began to record, the original object began to move, at first in an eastward direction and then southeast towards our vehicle until it flew directly overhead. At this point, we witnessed but did not record the previously homogeneous orange glow. It revealed itself to be a constant orange glow, followed by a series of successive lights that flashed in an ordered pattern, appearing to be on the same craft. Over the course of the next 3 hours, multiple orange glowing objects appeared from the same point on the horizon, only to follow a similar pattern of hovering, then flying in various directions, not necessarily in the same direction as the ones before it. Overall, we saw 4 to 5 separate craft. Absolutely mysterious. Maybe it's just this broadcaster, but it does seem to be that orange is the new UFO color. Orange UFO, black sky. Seems like Halloween approaches. What's approached us is the end of this broadcast. We've got to zoom out of here because that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to Inception Radio Network. You can find today's broadcast at ufoheadlinenews.com. Loving kindness. We're all in this together. This is Carol Carl. See you tomorrow.